Hello and welcome to our very first show of Two Good Sports. Thanks for joining us. I'm Hamo.
I'm Greg.
And over the course of the coming weeks, months and hopefully years, we'll be talking about all things sport with a focus, I guess, on NRL and cricket. And during this time, we encourage you to join us as we talk about all things sport, argue, have opinions, have a bit of a laugh along the way, talk about some controversial things that are happening in the world of sport. And again, we thank you for joining us for our first one today. Greg and myself, two ordinary blokes. We've known each other for over 30 years now, well over 30 years. Where we're coming from, this is actually our cricket club where we're still involved. Had a lot of fun times at this club, but over the years, Greg and myself, we've argued over sports, even though we're very good mates and cheered on together. Most of our life, I guess, has rotated a lot around the sporting world. We've played a fair bit of sport together. We've coached a number of sports, and now I guess we're in that capacity, in a fatherly capacity. Our young guys run around this club where we once did. We're a little slower these days, but it still keeps us here and having a wonderful time doing that. So again, thanks for joining us for our very first episode of Two Good Sports.
Yeah, great a lot. Good to see your bats here too, Hamo. Nice marks on it.
Too many cherries, I think, for mine, Greg. So as we proceed along in the coming weeks, you'll also notice that we have a social media pages, and they'll be prominent on our screen as we go along. So please do check those out. It'll keep you informed of the latest that we're doing on our show, and also there'll be polls, competitions, etc. to keep you informed as we go along. But we'd really like to hear your input. As we do proceed along, you'll notice we'll have our opinions throughout the week. Neither Greg nor myself have played cricket for Australia yet. I've got no NRL experience. Greg, anything you're keeping from me?
0 wins, 0 games.
But like everyone else, what we're doing, our opinions are simply that, and are simply opinions, and we really encourage you to share yours along with us as we go along. So let's rip into it. All right, this next section, which will be a weekly segment on Two Good Sports around the world in 90 seconds, gives us an opportunity to have a talk about some sports I guess we don't feature as much throughout our show every week. As we said, we're focusing mostly on cricket and NRL. But let's get into it, and let's talk Nick Kyrgios. He's just won the Mexican Open. He polarizing figure at times, but love him or hate him, he's gone from, I think it was 72nd in the world to now he's about 32nd or 31st in the world. Yeah. Look, no one's ever said he doesn't have the potential. He still does bring some things along with him, elements I guess that some people frown upon. Greg, your thoughts?
He's a yo-yo. He's up and down. I think he's a very talented player, obviously. I had a look at his record against the big three. I think he's 3-3 against Nadal. Djokovic, he's only played him twice, and he's 2-0, and he's down 4-2, I think, against Federer. So he's got a great record against the big three. Just shows his talent. Let's hope that he continues.
Greggy, I'll pass it over to you with Rugby Union.
Yeah, the Rugby Union. So around the world, we'll talk a fair bit of Rugby Union this year, I suppose, with the World Cup coming up. At the moment, we've got the Six Nations, we've got the Super Rugby started. Good to see Australian teams winning a few games in the Super Rugby, and the Six Nations. Wales are playing really good football. Being a betting man myself, I'm keen on Wales to actually break the sort of hoodoo, which has just been Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and England are the only 4 countries to have won the World Cup. So I think Wales can do it. So good luck to them.
All right. Now, 3 matches, 3 wins for New Matilda's coach, Milicic. Australia claimed the Cup of Nations. Just in the last week, we defeated Argentina 3-0. and that was a really great preparation for the World Cup.
Yes.
So well done, girls, and to their new coach. They couldn't have asked for a better start.
Yeah, Sam Kerr, unbelievable as always. Just too quick for the opposition and gets herself into great position. And very good.
Our current ranking at the moment, we're well and truly in the top 6.
Yeah, I think we might be 4th at the present moment. So and deservedly so.
All right. We'll continue this segment every week. If there's an element that you think you would like us to concentrate on and focus, maybe an area where we're not covering enough for you, please do let us know through our social media, and we'd be happy to have a look at that. Okay, only a week out until the 2019 season kicks off, or less than a week now. And Greggy, we ummed and ahed about this week's segment. We had a bit of a talk about how we were going to approach, I guess, our first NRL or rugby league, our rugby league show.
Yep.
And we have to address that it's been some horrible happenings off the field in the last, or I guess since last season finished, really only a month after that. And we thought what we want to do each week is focus on all the positives, all the wonderful things that we like to talk about at work, that sometimes get us through a long, tedious week. So we don't want to be talking about this coming into round 2, 3, 4 when maybe other broadcasters are. So we thought, let's get this out now and have a bit of a chat about it. Mm-hmm. And we encourage your feedback from home too, your opinions on this, because it has been widely talked about through all forms of media. And the off-field incidents, I can't remember it being more horrible. I've been following footy since a young boy, as you have.
Yeah.
And obviously there's some silly things that happen in the off-season, but this is by far, unfortunately, past everything that I've ever seen or heard.
Yeah, I agree. It was over 20, I think it was 20 incidents in the off-season, aggravated assault. I think we've had aggressive acts. We've had things towards women that, just should not happen. Not impressed at all. I don't think you are either, Hamo. And as we said, we'll try to we'll move on to the season, but we can't move on without mentioning how bad the off-season has been for NRL and the hit that it's taken through that. They say, it's publicity. It's not publicity. It's horrible. Let's hope that once the season gets started, that the players grow up and do the right thing, play good, hard football, and we remember what a great season at the end of 2019.
Well, Phil Gill came out just the other day and said, and I agree with his comment, sometimes Phil Gill's a little bit of a polarising figure, but he came out and said it's endemic in society, not just in rugby league circles. And that is more so, I guess, the videoing of certain things, the actions that people are taking these days with the way social media is. Everything seems to find its way to social media. The Dylan Napa incident and a number of other ones have. It seems to happen more in rugby league than other sports. And that is a major concern. It is endemic in today's society, I guess, but in rugby league it seems to find its way through to social media and to people who are willing to make a buck out of someone else's mistake or silly decision more than other sports.
Yeah, agreed. Still, they do it, so whether it's part of society or not, it's coming out in the NRL, and it's not good.
I noticed also Luke Lewis came out and very passionately spoke about his opinion on people who commit violent acts to women, and obviously he lived through that as a young child. He saw this happening to his own mother, very passionate about it. It's great to see former and current players coming out condemning these actions. The actions that clubs do now, I guess they're working closely with the integrity units. What do you do? Do you bar social media? Do you ban devices when players are out? You don't want to take away someone's autonomy. We're talking about 20-something-year-old people. That's the way it is, I guess, in society. What do you do?
Well, it's interesting. You look at the NFL. I suppose you've got to look at other codes. Look at the NFL and the EPL. They do have troubles, but it doesn't seem to come out as much as what it does. I know we're only a local Australian sport. You're talking minders. I think you're almost talking minders now. I know some clubs already have them, but you're almost, that's it. You're getting paid a fortune. So
And lastly, it's not just the things we're seeing on video, it's also the actual physical acts, the violent acts. A lot of it against women. It seems that some offenders just do not get it.
No, they don't. 20-year-olds with a lot of money. I know it's all been said before, but that's 20-year-olds with a lot of money, a lot of time on their hands outside of football. It's just not good, and it's fueling the fire.
Look, we'd like to hear your opinion on this. We could talk all day about this. We know that the clubs are diligent. They are acting upon it and working with the units. They also have their programs in place with a number of bodies run by women. So let's hope that there are some improvements made and we can put this behind us. The NRL season promises to be a cracker, and hopefully next week we can talk about some of the great things that are coming up in our season.
Yeah, agreed. Yep.
Okay, as we mentioned, it's only around the corner till the NRL does kick off. Greggy, top 3 things you're looking forward to this 2019 season?
Number 3, the end of Peter Beattie's reign. Hopefully that happens within minutes. But seriously, the others would be. I'm looking forward to a State of Origin series. Over the last 4 or 5 years, it's become it's very, very even. So I'm looking forward to the State of Origin series as always. We always say every season's an even season. This one will be interesting. I think there's 3 or 4 teams that just cannot make it. The surprise packet, I reckon the Titans might be a very good side this year and perform well based on their forward pack. I'm looking forward to their forward pack and Ash Taylor at halfback. Outside that, can the Roosters go back to back? I'm hoping not. I think it'll be I've read a bit this last couple of weeks. I think it'll be a much more open season. I think there'll be more points scored. And I'm looking forward to that. The ball, a bit of razzle-dazzle. The centres. I want to see a big year for the centres. I'd like to see centres making breaks rather than just being the offloader to the winger. So I want big years from the centres across the board, and I think it'll be real open football and a lot of tries scored. I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to, as I said, I think Titans will go up the ladder, and I also think that someone will beat the Roosters. I don't know who right at this moment, but I think someone will beat the Roosters. Obviously, as a Dragon supporter, I hope it's the Dragons, but I just think somebody will beat them. I just don't know who it is at this present moment. So looking forward to it. Yeah, so Hamo, we've listened to me rabble on a bit. What about yourself? What's your big 3 moments or big 3 things that you're looking forward to this season?
You mentioned your mighty Dragons. You're a bit one-eyed with the Dragons. There's never been a more one-eyed Dragon fan, I don't think, than the bloke next to me. I had the interesting, I suppose, displeasure for you of watching the 1999 Melbourne Dragons Grand Final, where you were home. I actually said halfway, you're home.
Yeah, 14-0, oh, you're home, and I've gone, don't start. Anyway, I've got a twitch. I've still got a twitch, Hamo, so please move on.
Look, for me, I think every year there's someone who comes along who defies belief. There's someone, the Israel Folau's a few years ago when he went, we were all bemoaning the fact that how we're going to replace him. Someone seems to do it. Last year, it was really the rise of Carlin Ponga, I thought was outstanding. And very close to getting Dally M Player of the Year. It'll be interesting for me and a lot of people to see how he goes in his new position with the Knights at 5'8". That's one that I'm really excited about. So number 3 for me are the rookies, including the Victor Radleys and those types of guys. Number 2, I'm really interested to see like you mentioned, the Origin. I'm really interested in the Perth Origin for this year, how they go there. Apparently it's a wonderful stadium. I think it's close to sold out, or it is sold out now.
Yeah, 60,000. I think it's roundabout takes 60,000 people.
You're going over, is that right?
I think I've got tickets. Pretty sure I'm going over.
So the Origin in general, look, the Origin's never let us down. So this year I think is going to be, it's going to be interesting to see how Queensland bounce back after losing a series last year, and how they reshuffle a few players and we come along, and Queensland come along and fight back. And number 1 for me is the rise of some of the clubs that probably haven't had their best seasons in the past. I think some of the teams like the West Tigers have bought well. You mentioned the Titans, to see how they can challenge for the 8 and how we can change that top 8 around a bit. I think some of the clubs, the Melbourne Storms, are maybe on their way down compared to where they've been. I think when Cameron Smith does eventually retire, that'll that'll be the catalyst for maybe a bit of change in the structure of the 8 that we've seen the last few years.
Yeah, West Tigers, I didn't mention them before. They'll be very interesting.
Great coach.
Yeah, great coach. I think they could be heroes or zeros. I don't know exactly where they fit. I'm thinking they're either surprise everyone in the top 6 sort of area, or they're close to the spoon. I don't think they'll be in between. I think they'll either be right down the bottom, or they'll be, in the top 8.
Well, my top 8 last year, I write them out every year. I guess a lot of us do. And for 2018, and my first and second ended up finishing 15th and 16th, and I think that was the Eels and the Cowboys. So I'm a terrible pick.
Well done.
All right, Greg, I think a lot of cricket fans in Australia are pretty happy that the Sheffield Shield is back in full swing. We've had a couple of games in the last couple of weeks, and it's an opportunity for a lot of the candidates for the coming Ashes in a few months' time to get some runs on the board, literally.
Yes.
And also with the Duke ball that they'll be experiencing overseas. We've had the Big Bash. For me, it seemed to lose a little bit of its luster this year. It seemed to go on longer than in the past. Well, I guess it did. And it was a little bit like that drunken uncle at Christmas time. I was sort of glad to see him go at the end. What about you?
I was throwing him out the door. It's horrible. 56 games, I think. I don't know. Just every night, all you did was turn it on. It was like watching repeats of Doctor Who, although a great show. It went way too long. Let's go back to the 42 games or whatever it was the previous year. 56, way too long. Drunken uncle, correct.
All right. Well, last summer's 2 Test series, obviously we played India. India were brilliant against us. I think Australia are rebuilding, but that's no excuse against India. They were fantastic, the better side. We lost that series and then went on to defeat Sri Lanka 2-0, which was a pretty good effort against, I guess, a depleted Sri Lankan outfit, but still, you can only beat who's in front of you. So I guess that now has gave them a bit of momentum going into coming red ball cricket. What we're going to look at this week is let's have a look at some roses, so some positive from the batting perspective. We'll look at the bowling next week, and maybe a thorn or two that probably didn't go as well as they would have liked for Australia. So I'll kick it off. The first one we're going to look at, Greggy, is Marcus Harris. I'll quickly go through his stats and pass it on to you. At the moment, Marcus Harris has got 327 runs. He's averaging about 32.5. He's killing it in Sheffield Shield at the moment. He's got close to 1,000 runs, averaging over 80. His first-class average is 36. For me, as just a fan, I was a little disappointed at times he didn't go on with some of those great starts he did.
Yeah, I think Matt Hayden called it out that he was playing in the air around with the cut shot and around the point area, and the next day he got out to the same shot, so that's disappointing. Overall, 5.5 out of 10, just gets a pass mark. But as you said, he's succeeding in Shield cricket, which means I think the confidence is there. He's averaging now 80 odd, as you said, this year. He'll go to the Ashes, definitely.
Would he be first choice opener? Obviously, Warner's going to be there. Burns has put his hand up.
I'm a huge Burns fan. Warner and Burns for me.
All right. Another one. Only played a couple of tests. Curtis Patterson, he's scored 100 already. He's played 2 tests. His average is irrelevant at the moment because he's had a night out. But he's so far scored 596 runs in Shield cricket. He's averaging 49. What I like is his first-class cricket. He's played for quite a while now. I think he's 26 this year. He's averaging close to 50 in first-class cricket, which a lot aren't. I think it's 47.5.
Yes, he's brilliant. He'll play a lot of Test cricket, I think, and he deserves it. Nothing but positives about Curtis Patterson. He took that specky of a catch, and his batting's been great. They talk about these 80 balls. They were looking for people that could face 80 balls or more in Shield cricket, and he does it regularly. 80 Test matches, I reckon.
So a starter for the first test?
Yeah. Okay. I don't know exactly where, but starter.
Okay. Last one we're going to cover is Travis Head. He started his test campaign in the UAE against Pakistan. He had a pretty fair series. I think he scored a 50. He helped us draw that game when Usman Khawaja got that wonderful 100. Then he went on to a moderate series against India. I think he averaged about 35, and he really came of age against the Sri Lankans. And his current figures, he's got 660 runs. His Test average now is 51. And his current Shield season is 370 runs at 41, but really he's missed quite a few Shield games with commitments to Australia.
Yeah. I think his overall average is 38.6 or 39, something around that in first-class cricket. That does worry me a little bit, but I think he's a natural leader, as he's proven for South Australia. And with the age not on Tim Payne's side, I think he may be the next leader of Australian cricket. It will just depend if he can. The Ashes will be the make or break for Travis Head. If he gets a good Ashes, he's got 10 years on him. He'll be playing for the next 10 years and he'll be captain.
Well, all three of these guys we just talked about are around 25, 26, so they've got the future in front of them.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some of the guys that didn't go as well as they would have liked and we would have liked. We'll do two at once, and they're the Marsh brothers. And they've been, I guess, by some people, bashed from pillar to post, probably a lot of the time unfairly. Quickly, Mitch, he was the vice captain going into the series against Pakistan. He was then dropped for the series against India, brought in the last Test. Didn't get any runs really, and bowled, I guess, okay. But Greg, Mitch Marsh.
No, I think what they said was they'll play him, and they need him to bowl 10 overs. But it wouldn't be bad if he bowled 10 overs and got a wicket. And he bowls 10 overs and he doesn't get a wicket. So it's to give the other guys a rest. Well, you've got Travis Head can bowl a bit of off spin. You've got other blokes there that can do that. So he'd be waving goodbye to them all at the airport.
And his brother Sean, he's 36 this year. Time's not on his side.
He'll be next to him, waving.
He was a sound series against India, I guess. A couple of 50s, I think.
He'll be still waving.
He'll be waving. And lastly, a guy that we've talked about a little bit, probably feel a bit sorry for. He's been wonderful with the white ball in 2020, T20 and one day for a long time is Aaron Finch. The experiment to bring him up the order and try him as an opener in red ball cricket, it had a couple of moments, I guess, where it went quite well, but overall it was a failure, I guess. He averaged 27, I think he averages, and he's had 250s in his 6 or 7 tests, but do you see him as a threat going to the Ashes?
Probably alongside the Marsh brothers in the waving bin. But in saying that, I think, as you've said before to me, it would have been good to get a chance in the middle order. I don't think he's definitely got ability, obviously, and I think he's a borderline. I think he can play Test cricket. I just think, unfortunately, he happened to be put in a spot of opening the batting and wasn't up to it in that series against India. But
against the red hot bowling attack too.
Overall, I wouldn't throw Finch in the Sean Marsh sort of case. I'd be saying that he's still a chance.
Okay. Just closing on Finch, I noticed that Ian Chappell came out last week and said the worst thing that happened to Finch was being selected for the Australian Test team, and I think that Finch would probably disagree with that. He's got a baggy green and scored 250s.
Yeah, thanks, Chappelli. Thanks for joining us for our first episode. One down, Hamo. I think Newtown might have beaten Canterbury 1-0 for those people out there that have long memories, and it was a good little edge down the offside of the wicket to get off the mark for us. So looking forward to everyone join us next week. Hamo, over to you.
Yeah, look, make sure you do keep an eye on our social media platforms. They'll be updated quite regularly. On there, you'll have an opportunity to share your opinions and views, your thoughts. Also, there'll be a number of polls, competitions, and so forth. So please do check those out. We update them regularly, and we really look forward to your input there. So from us at Two Good Sports, Hamo and Greggy, we really appreciate you joining us for our first show, and may the bounce of the ball go your way throughout the week. We'll see you next week.
Kick to the corner.